Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'm your host, Nick. Today we are recapping games 3, 4, and 5 of the World Series. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, it is, I wouldn't say sad times, but it is confusing times and just not the best times. This is episode 73. It's been a fun postseason, and at this point, it is maybe only going to last another 2 days or so. So, as always, before I get into it, as always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod, TikTok, Instagram, on X, all that stuff. You hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos dropping. And like I said, on X, on TikTok, I have a bunch of cool Dodger videos that I make on TikTok if you guys want to watch that. A lot of them have been going viral as of late, so I appreciate all of you guys. And then you can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. Do a lot of live tweeting. Haven't done too much live tweeting, I'll admit, during the World Series. I've just been watching. And then as well on Reddit at competitive-week8715. So, there's a ton of stuff to get to. The last time I talked to you guys in the last pod was recapping games 1 and 2 of the World Series. Since then, 3 games have taken place. Technically 4, because one of the games was 18 innings, which of course is basically 2 games. There's been a ton of stuff to go over. A ton of stuff has happened. This week has honestly felt like a continuous loop. That first game just set the whole week into a crazy just spiral. What today's episode will be like, I'm not going to necessarily recap every game, because it was 3 games. One of them was 18 innings. 2 of them were super lame games. Not that I'm ignoring the bad stuff or anything like that. But I just don't feel like I have to recap every game. I'm just going to talk about each game individually in order. I will go over game 3. Again, not recap it, but I'm just going to talk, give my thoughts. There's just going to be a lot of yapping, a lot of just rambling today, because of where the Dodgers are at now. I'm just going to go over game 3, my thoughts, watching it, all that kind of stuff, game 4, game 5, and then looking ahead to game 6. So, of course, if you live under a rock and you have no idea, the Dodgers, where we currently stand, the Dodgers are down 3 games to 2. Game 6 is tomorrow night at the time of this recording. It is Thursday. Tomorrow night, Halloween, Friday night, game 6 of the World Series. It'll be Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Kevin Gausman, a rematch of game 2, which the Dodgers did win. The Dodgers, of course, one more loss, the season is over. They would not repeat. The postseason is over. The Blue Jays would win their first World Series since the early 90s. All that stuff. If the Dodgers win, Game 7 will be the following night, Saturday night. And that's pretty much it, Game 7. I mean, it is, if you win the World Series. You lose the World Series. It's that simple. So I know I'm all over the place, but I'm going to go over, like I said, 3, 4, and 5. So we'll start with Game 3, which was the only positive game. And I hesitated there because for a lot of the night, there was a lot of not-so-positive things. So, of course, Game 3 of the World Series, at this point, it was a 1-1 tie coming into L.A. It was the first game in L.A. Glasnow, Scherzer. As you all know, the game went 18 innings. It was about a 7-hour game, I believe. Like I said, started with Glasnow and Scherzer. Eventually, we had Will Klein, who was added to the World Series roster, basically because of Alex Vesia's absence. He ended up pitching 4 innings in relief. So, of course, I'll start with Glasnow. He didn't really have his best stuff in this game. He looked pretty solid to start the game, but the Blue Jays kind of did what they have done all postseason and what they did the next 2 games. Put a lot of pressure on Glasnow, leadoff singles. Again, Glasnow didn't pitch too horribly. The Dodgers got out to a 2-0 lead thanks to 2 solo home runs, which has kind of been the theme of this World Series. Dodgers have only hit one home run that wasn't a solo home run, and I can't remember which one that was. But 2 solo home runs. It was Teoscar Hernandez in the second inning, and then I believe Shohei hit one in the third inning. 2-0 lead. I forget what inning it was at some point. It was the fourth inning. A Vladimir Guerrero walk, a Bo Bichette fielding error thanks to Tommy Edman, which is rare from him, so I'll give him credit. He really never makes errors. Then a couple batters later, Alejandro Kirk, 3-run homer, gave the Blue Jays the lead. They go up 3-2. Later on, Shohei would eventually tie the game, would make it a 1-run game with a double. Freddie Freeman would tie the game with a single. The Blue Jays would go ahead again later in the game against a little rally against Blake Trinan. And then Shohei would hit that home run to tie the game. So the first 7 innings of this World Series game, Game 3, were great. It was it was looking like it was going to be the best game of the series. And then after that, of course, the game goes into extra innings. There was a lot of wild defensive plays. A line drive that deflected off of Freddie Freeman's glove, into shallow right field. Tommy Edman slides to pick it up, throws the runner out at third from shallow right. An incredible play. Later on, there was a great relay, a double down into the corner. Teoscar got the ball in, threw it to Tommy Edman. He turned and threw the ball home to Will Smith to get the out. So there was a lot of incredible defensive plays. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani had 4 extra base hits in the World Series, which was the first time that's happened in 100 years. I don't remember the number, but it was like in the 1920s or something. Then on top of that, he had the 4 walks, I think it was, or 3 walks. Forget the number already. It's felt like it's so long ago. But what I'll say is, through the first 9, 11, 12 innings of this game, it was looking like an all-time World Series game, if I'm being honest, because of the back-and-forth nature, big home runs, big defensive plays. Some guys were getting some big outs. Clayton Kershaw came in and got 1 out to get out of a huge jam. It really was looking like an all-time World Series game. Then, of course, the extra innings, the no ability to score from each side, all the way to the 18th inning. Freddie Freeman hits a walk-off home run to dead center. Just pretty crazy stuff. His second career walk-off home run in the World Series, obviously his second in a row, because last year he did that against the Yankees. The first player ever to have 2 walk-off home runs in the World Series, and I think he's only the second player ever to have 2 walk-off hits in a World Series. So just crazy stuff. So a lot of people, of course, calling it one of the greatest games of all time. To me, it can't be the greatest game or one of the greatest of all time, because in the extra innings that followed the first 11, 12 innings, there were so many poor at-bats and so many guys left on base. And in the Blue Jays case, they didn't do anything. It was just they went down 1-2-3, 1-2-3. So because of that, yes, it was all-time stuff, and it was epic that it went 18 innings. But part of the reason it went 18 innings is because there was horrible offensive, there was a horrible at-bats. So that's why, to me, it kind of gets knocked down a little bit, where it was a great game. As a Dodger fan, it was almost damn near torture to watch. Now, again, I want to have some perspective, because as Dodger fans, we are spoiled. And again, I've said this before, I'm sure a Pirates fan would give both arms to just see their team lose in the World Series. So I understand that, they're in the World Series and we should be happy for that. But playing in the World Series obviously brings a lot of nerves as a fan. And considering that there was so many innings that they had runners on base, runners in scoring position, could not get the final hit. I mean, there was an inning where Tommy Edman hit a leadoff double, and you were thinking, finally, we're going to score. There was a sac bunt. It was runner on third, 1 out. Alex Call came up to pinch hit for Andy Pages. And Alex Call, who, the one thing he does great is give you a solid at-bat, doesn't chase, pops up to shortstop. And then they were unable to, of course, bring in the run. There was a couple of deke fly balls. Will Smith hit one that I don't know how it didn't get out. It looked like a bomb off the bat. It ended up dying on the warning track. Teoscar Hernandez did the same thing. Wasn't as crazy as Will Smith's. Will Smith, I'll be honest, like when Will Smith made contact, I was like, oh, okay, game over. And then it didn't even get over the fence. Teoscar hit one to dead center that he kind of like posed a little bit and watched it. But because it was like a line drive, it wasn't a for sure. It wasn't going to get out for sure. And then there was even a Max Muncy home swing that he had where the ball went foul. So between the guys being left on base, the horrible at bats, and then a couple of like failed pimp homers, torturous stuff from a fan's perspective. And then you just add on top of that it's like a 7-hour marathon. I mean, it's already stressful enough to watch a postseason game for basically 3 hours, hang on every pitch, be just nervous and just feel like you're going to throw up at every second. And then you just add on, like, okay, now you're going to do this again for a whole nother 3 hours. So, overall thoughts, it was a great game with a lot of really bad moments mixed in. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers got the win in epic fashion, a walk-off home run from Freddie Freeman. I mean, there were points later in the game when, it's just funny in the postseason where, as a fan, when it comes to like the late innings and bullpen arms, you know who to trust, who you would like to have in the game. And then when you get into extra innings and it's like you're using more and more guys and you're getting to the point where you have no one left, it quickly goes from who do we trust to who do we have to just pitch. Like if I would have told you Edgardo Henriquez and Will Klein were going to pitch in this game and throw multiple innings, you would have been like, okay, well then we're losing because you didn't trust those guys. And it's just funny how the game of baseball works where those guys pitched big innings and pitched flawlessly, and it all worked out, and they gave legendary performances, and we were getting to the point where like Yamamoto had to go throw in the bullpen. Dave Roberts said in the game when they do those little dugout meetings, he said that we might have to go to a position player, and maybe like Miguel Rojas or someone would have pitched. But then, of course, we saw Yamamoto go down to the bullpen, who, of course, threw a complete game like 3 days prior or 2 days prior, whatever it was. So, a crazy game. It's kind of funny how the last time that's happened in World Series history was in the same stadium with the same team, because Max Muncy, of course, in 2018 hit a walk-off home run against the Red Sox in Game 3 of the World Series in the 18th inning. So that's just wild stuff. I remember watching that game. I was sitting in this very room watching that game. I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, it's so late at night. I can't believe how long this game is going on. And the overwhelming, like, overlooming kind of feeling is like, am I going to sit here and watch a game for this long? So many ups and downs. We're going to win. We're going to lose. We're going to blow it. We're going to come back. And then am I going to go through all that just to see my team not even win? Like I kept, after like the 14th, 15th inning, I just accepted like, we don't even deserve to win this game because of these horrible at-bats. And I was like, if we don't win, then whatever, I've accepted it. But then at the same time, I was like, no, I've been sitting here for this long. They have to win. I'm not going to sit here and watch a team lose after that. So anyways, 13 minutes into the pod, it was a crazy game. And it was just, at the very end, you go through all that pain and suffering as a fan for a sick moment. Freddie Freeman, walk-off home run. He actually hit a couple balls hard in this game that had a chance to get out. But a walk-off home run, second in consecutive years, because like I said, he did that against the Yankees. Just crazy stuff. It was cool. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Dodgers took a 2-1 lead at that point. Of course, for Game 4, Shohei Ohtani is then going to take the mound, so you're feeling very good. Shane Bieber's on the mound for the Blue Jays, so now we will go to Game 2. So, like I said, it was like a continuous loop. The game ended. Within 30 minutes, I went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, went to work, came home. As soon as I come home, the game was starting. So it was like, here we are again. It was like the game just ended, and now you're watching a whole new game. The game started. Like I said, Shohei on the mound, Shane Bieber on the mound for the Blue Jays. The very first batter of the game, Nathan Lucas flew out to left field. Kike Hernandez made a really nice catch down in the corner, reaching into foul territory or over the short wall. And then Shohei actually proceeded to strike out Vladimir Guerrero right after that. And then I think he got out of that inning 1-2-3. And I was thinking to myself early on, it was one inning, of course, but Kike made the nice catch, struck out Vladimir Guerrero. I was like, and then Shohei Ohtani led off the bottom of the first with a walk. And I was thinking to myself, man, after that 18 innings, could the Dodgers come out here with all the energy in the world, ready to take a 3-1 lead? And then the Blue Jays, could they come out dead? Because they, could some of the guys just look kind of dead? And I was thinking, could they come out with no energy and the Dodgers take a 3-1 lead and, put themselves in great position to win the World Series? Anything but that happened. It was quite the opposite. So, of course, again, as you guys all know, the Dodgers lost this game 6-2. Shane Bieber pitched pretty solid, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run. Shohei actually didn't pitch too solid, but he didn't pitch very great either. 6 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. He gave up a 2-run homer to Vladimir Guerrero. The Dodgers were winning at that point, 1-0. A sac fly from Kike Hernandez. Vladimir Guerrero in the, I think it was the 3rd inning or the 4th inning, 2-run homer to jump the Blue Jays on top. It would remain a 2-1 game for a little bit. Dodgers bats were doing nothing. And then in the 7th inning, of course, Shohei gets through 6 innings. And Dave Roberts sent Shohei Ohtani back out for the 7th inning. And I said this in real time on my Twitter, and I was thinking this in real time. I think this was the first time all postseason that Dave Roberts was too aggressive in the other direction. Normally, nowadays in modern baseball, managers are too aggressive to go to the pen too quickly because of the numbers, because of the analytics, the matchups, not wanting your team or your pitcher to face a lineup the 3rd time, all that kind of stuff. The velocity, it's just it's difficult to see a different pitcher every time, all that kind of stuff. It all adds up to relievers pitching more and more, trying to shorten the game, and then starters just not going very deep. We know the Dodgers and Dave Roberts have done the complete opposite this postseason, relying on their starters, multiple complete games. Blake Snell's even gone 8 innings in this series, all that kind of stuff. And Shohei got through 6 innings. If you watched him pitch, he pitched pretty solid considering that the night before he played in an 18-inning game, hit 2 home runs, and was on base like 7 times, I think, or 8 times. He pitched pretty good, but if you watched the game with your own eyes, you could see he did not have his best stuff. He did not have great fastball command in this game. Shohei did only have 1 walk. Like I said, he did pitch solid. Anyone who came out of that and says Shohei gave up 4 runs, he pitched really bad, he sucked or whatever, you didn't watch the game. But again, the opposite of that is if you think he pitched great, he didn't. He gave the best performance he could, considering that he just played so many innings the night before. Obviously, is gassed, all that stuff. But I didn't think he had the best command. The velocity was down at points. But he had some quick innings. And I think, all in all, he pitched solid. And when he got through the 6 innings, I think he had like 92 pitches or something like that. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, he's done. He gave you 6 innings. He kept it. It's a 1-run game. The offense has to do something to bounce back here. I thought he would be done. Now, again, we just played an 18-inning game where everyone in the bullpen is taxed. But, you pitched everyone in the bullpen, so everyone is taxed. So it's not like you have certain guys you got to stay away from. So I just thought that, he should have been out after the 6th inning. So Dave Roberts tried to steal a couple more outs with Shohei in the 7th, and he came back to bite them. I believe there was a leadoff single. I want to say it was from Dalton Varsho. And then immediately Ernie Clement doubled into left field. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. 7th inning you're down 1 run. Then Dave Roberts goes ahead and pulls Shohei. So it was like, you let him go back out there when he's a little tired. You know that he's tired. He got through 6 innings. You tried to steal a couple more outs. Now he just puts you in the worst position possible. 2nd and 3rd. Of course, the Blue Jays tallied on 4 runs in the game, made it 6-1 at that point. The Dodgers would eventually tally 1 run. So I don't put the loss on Dave Roberts, of course, because the loss is on the offense. And we're going to talk about this because this game and then the next game, which was Game 5, the reason the Dodgers were not able to win was because the offense didn't show up. Now, the Blue Jays offense did, and in neither starts did they get great. In both games, neither of them did they get great starts from the pitching. So, maybe the offense would have showed up a little bit and it wouldn't have mattered. But both games 4 and 5, were pretty much like an incumbent of what happened in the regular season, with the Dodgers having an up and down lineup and just an entire up and down season. So again, before I get into that, let me just quickly get into Game 5. So Game 4 ended. The Dodgers lost. The bats didn't show up. In my mind, I thought you could chalk it up to, it's not an excuse, but you just played 18 innings the day before. Again, it's not an excuse because the Blue Jays also had to play 18 innings. But on my mind, after watching the 18 innings and then immediately watching the game the next day, I was like, this is like a sleepy game. Like, there was no energy. There was just no... I'm not going to say urgency because I don't like when people say that, like the Dodgers just didn't try. But they had no good at-bats against Beaver. And once the bullpen came into the game after Shohei, they just, put the game out of reach for the Dodgers to come back. You lost that game, so the series is tied 2-2. And again, like I've been saying all postseason, you can't go into a series thinking we're going to sweep, and anything short of that is like series is over or this is embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're in the World Series, it's tied 2-2. You have your last game at home with Blake Snell on the mound. Like, anyone who is saying to themselves, it's over, blah, 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 like, you're just, like, disingenuous, or maybe you're just, I don't know. I'm just not a negative person or a negative fan. And it's not that, like, I'm, like, looking away from what's happening, or, like, it's, like, I have a blind eye, or I'm trying to ignore stuff. It's just, like, it's baseball. You're playing another very good team with a very good offense. And to just think, like, it's over, the series is tied 2-2, blah, blah, blah. I just think that's so stupid. But I get, like, the offenses looked horrible, and I'm going to get into all that stuff, like, thoughts going into Game 6. So they lose the game, the series is tied. So you move on to Game 5, Blake Snell is on the mound, going up against Trey Savage. If the offense can show up, Blake Snell is going to give you enough of a chance to win the game, at least. At the very most, he's going to dominate like he has all postseason. So, Game 5, right away, horrible vibes start the game. On the very first pitch of the game, Davis Schneider, who of course is in there for George Springer, who I didn't mention it, but he got hurt in Game 3. It looks like he's going to be back for Game 6. I believe he pinch hit later in this game. First pitch of the game against Blake Snell, dinger. Very first pitch, very first fastball. And then right after that, Vladimir Guerrero, back-to-back, he hits a line drive home run out to left field. So right away, before Blake Snell can get an out, the Dodgers are down 2-0. Horrible vibes to start the game. And then this was the worst offensive showing of the entire postseason. I don't even need to, again, go through the game. They lost 6-2. Trey Savage absolutely carved up the Dodgers like I can't even describe. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, which was on a solo home run from Kike Hernandez, 12 strikeouts, 12, a dozen. He had over 20 swings and misses, I'm pretty sure. Absolutely just carved up the Dodgers. They had nothing for you, Savage. I mean, they could not rally. They couldn't rally anything together, pretty much. I think there was like one rally later in the game, but it was just 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, strikeout, chasing splitters, chasing sliders. Just like an embarrassing showing. Now again, Savage pitched good, so you got to give him credit, but just unbelievable. Like, your season's on the line. Whoever wins this game, whoever wins Game 5, is gonna be one win away from winning the World Series. And you have a chance to win the game and go to Toronto with Yamamoto on the mound with a chance to win the World Series. And the offense just put up nothing. I mean, Mookie Betts had horrible at-bats. Even Freddie Freeman didn't have good at-bats. But I really shouldn't single anyone out because there was not anyone who had good at-bats. Again, they had 4 hits in this game. One was from Will Smith. That came in the 9th inning when it was a 6-1 game. 2 came from Kike Hernandez. 2 came from Teoscar Hernandez. And then 1 came from Kike Hernandez, the solo home run. Absolutely carved up. And, where I'll start to look ahead to Game 6 and just kind of overwhelming thoughts about everything that's gone on. We know what happened in the regular season with the Dodgers. A lot of times when you watch the postseason as a baseball fan, and you're someone who is a fan of a specific team, but you don't necessarily follow every team in Major League Baseball. Then you get to the postseason, whether your team's in it or not, and you kind of learn about other teams, other players and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, because the Dodgers are the Dodgers and because the reputation they have, because they've been to so many World Series, they've won 2, they have a chance to win a 3rd, they have so many great players, spend all this money, everyone just assumes they're a juggernaut, they're an all-time team, and anytime they do anything bad, it's shocking. Seeing the Dodgers offense go ice cold like this shouldn't be shocking to any Dodger fan. Because if you just watch the regular season, specifically in the second half, you saw a lot of this. And it's where all of the fears that they wouldn't have been able to do what they're so close to doing came from. In the second half, they were so inconsistent offensively. They just went through so many stretches where it wasn't just one guy in the lineup. There were guys like Mookie and Freddie and even Shohei that played good in the second half, but there were just so many times that they would go through these long, stretches of just doing nothing offensively. And in the postseason, they have, on a scale of elite offensive performance and nothing, where they're at right now, they were to me they were more in the middle, on the lower end of that, if that makes any sense. They were by no means tearing the cover off the ball. They were by no means the best offensive team in the postseason or one of, but they were doing enough, and a lot of it was obviously covered up by the incredible pitching. They hit very well against the Reds in those 2 games. I thought in the Phillies series they did enough. In Game 1, they had that nice comeback with the Teoscar home run. They put some runs together in the 6th and 7th inning, I think it was, in Game 2, and then they held on. Didn't really do anything in Game 3. Yamamoto didn't pitch well. Game 4, they did have a lot of very, very bad at-bats, and they were just able to scratch one across later in the game. In the Brewers series, it was a mix of even better starting pitching. They absolutely dominated the Brewers. And again, just enough offense to win those games. And then obviously in that Game 4, Shohei went nuts. In the World Series, it's been much, it's ticked down. Where outside of basically Shohei, who's hit well in the World Series, Teoscar Hernandez has been pretty good. Will Smith has been pretty good. But outside of that, a lot of guys have done pretty much nothing. After watching the last 2 games, really the whole World Series, but the last 2 games, it is very, very difficult to be positive or to be confident going into Game 6 of the World Series, especially when you consider how amazing the Blue Jays lineup has been. I told you guys how teams like the Brewers, teams like the Blue Jays, it was going to be difficult for them in the postseason to do what they normally do to win games because it's hard to string together rallies. And I do still believe that, but the Blue Jays have proved me wrong in this series because if you go through every game in this series that they have won, right, they won Game 1, all game they were putting pressure on Blake Snell. He pitched solidly, but they broke through later in the 6th inning and then took advantage of the Dodgers' weak bullpen that didn't do anything, blew the game open. And then in game 2, actually before Yamamoto settled in, they did have some good innings against him early on in that game. But Yamamoto did shut them down. So it does show that the Blue Jays are not incapable of being shut down or quieted offensively. Game 3, again, they rallied a few innings. The big home run from Kirk. Eventually, it was a double down the line from Bo Bichette that gave them the lead. And then their bats did go quiet. Now, a lot of that was due to a bunch of guys coming out of the lineup. Like George Springer got injured. He came out. Alejandro Kirk had to be run for. So he came out. The backup catcher, Tyler Heineman, came in. And then as well, Addison Barger was pinch hit for. So later in the game, the Blue Jays lineup had no firepower. And Bo Bichette came out of the lineup for defense. So they had Bo Bichette, George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, and Addison Barger all come out of the game. So in extra innings in that game, it was Vladimir Guerrero and that's it. Maybe Ernie Clement. That was it. And they didn't really do anything in that game. Game 4, the other game that they won, they actually didn't put much pressure on Shohei. The home run by Vladimir Guerrero. And then later on, when Shohei stuck around, they had that big rally in the 7th inning that really put the game out of reach. And then again, similar in this game, 2 home runs in the first. It was in the 7th inning that they were able to put some runs together, some wild pitches that really cost the Dodgers. And so basically the overwhelming point is that the Blue Jays have been able to bring their style of offense to the World Series against the Dodgers, and it's the reason why they're up 3-2. Another reason is why they have gotten good enough starting pitching, like Kevin Gausman in Game 2, obviously Savage last night. So those are pretty much my overwhelming thoughts on all 3 games. I know that was a lot. I know I was kind of all over the place. There wasn't much numbers, not much analytics, just what happened, my thoughts. Now, where we'll kind of finish up the end of this pod. Game 6. All right, so at this point, you guys know that if you're a regular on this pod, you know that I give a lot of numbers. I give a lot of keys to win, how to get a win. What's the approach need to be against that pitch, the team's opposing pitcher. What do we have to do against their lineup? All that kind of stuff. When you get down to moments like this, it really just comes down to no information, no numbers. You just got to win one game, right? Obviously, it would have been way better emotionally for the Dodgers to have won Game 5, and then we go to Toronto just needing to win one of the next 2 to win the World Series. Now, the Dodgers have to win 2 of the 2 games. They have to force Game 7 and then actually win Game 7. So, I understand fans being upset, of course, and I also understand, some of the fans that are it's over, blah, blah, blah. I think that some fans just like to prepare themselves for if the season does end. It's you just want to be prepared. You don't want to get your hopes up. But I just feel it is baseball. The Dodgers are a very good team, okay? And nobody was surprised that they ended up in the World Series, I don't think. But I don't think you should be surprised that they are losing to the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays are a very, very good team who have outperformed the Dodgers in this series. But by no means is it over yet, and by no means is it impossible for the Dodgers to still win. Now, again, I understand the circumstances. They are going home to Toronto, the Blue Jays are. The Dodgers are going on the road to Toronto, down 3-2, right? So it's in favor of the Blue Jays. If I take my fandom out of it, biased opinion, and I just tried to talk to you straight as a baseball fan, anyone with a brain would tell you, the likeliest outcome is that the Blue Jays will win the World Series. And but it is Game 6, and you have Yamamoto on the mound, who has been the best starting pitching for the Dodgers, who's given the best performance in this World Series, and has done the best job at quieting the Blue Jays' bats. So if you ask me, you couldn't have a better guy on the mound. A guy who's confident, a guy who is, ready for the moment. And there's kind of no doubt in my mind that Yamamoto is going to give a performance, he's going to give the Dodgers a chance to win the game. It's all going to fall on the offense. And it sucks because there's been too many times as a Dodger fan that the Dodgers offense has just been the reason they weren't able to go deeper into the postseason. But it's really all on the offense. I mean, I'm not breaking any news to you. That is obvious. But it's all on the offense. I can't say it any more. I mean, if the offense shows up, we will have a Game 7. They do not have to score 10 runs. They don't have to score, 6 runs in one inning or anything like that. They just have to put pressure on Kevin Gausman. They have to put the ball in play. They have to finally just get a big hit. And really what they need to do is, when the Dodgers are playing their style of baseball, it is not chasing out of the strike zone. They have had way too many really bad at-bats. Like Tommy Edman, it seems like goes up there every at-bat and just swings at a first-pitch curveball in the dirt. So many guys have been chasing. It's like nobody looks comfortable in the box. And then, the pressure just mounts where, you're just trying not to strike out. And it's just such a tough watch offensively. But to close out, I'll say this to you guys. It's going to be difficult. It is, again, we all know what's at stake. You have to win one game to get it to Game 7. And when you get it to Game 7, anything can happen, all right? When you get to Game 7, everything goes out the window. And just as a fan, I just want to see them get to Game 7, because if we get to Game 7, I don't know who's going to start. It's probably going to be Tyler Glasnow, but Shohei Ohtani will definitely pitch in that game. There is no doubt in my mind. Will he pitch to close it out? Will he close out the game? I don't know. Will he come in relief early in the game? Could he open the game? Who knows? But it would really sum up, and it would be a really fitting way to end this season and end this really good postseason run that we've seen the Dodgers on, and the Blue Jays, in fact. It would be all-time nerves. The last time we watched the Game 7 of the World Series, we know how that happened for the Dodgers. So I don't really have much else to leave you guys with. I'm trying to be honest with you guys. The confidence is low because of the offense. If I'm being honest, it's like, do I think the offense is going to break out? I don't. Do I think Yamamoto is going to give them a chance to win the game? I do. Do I think that the offense can do enough to win the game? Of course. Kevin Gausman's not unhittable. I got my Yamamoto jersey on out of respect to him. I think he's going to give the Dodgers a chance to win Game 6. I think he's going to pitch a long time because they're going to ride or die with him. And I think someone's going to step up offensively. Mookie Betts, maybe Max Muncy, maybe even Tommy Edman. Maybe it's just Shohei Ohtani. Maybe Shohei Ohtani is just like, get on my back and I'll carry us to the promised land. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the next time I'll get on here, I'll tell you guys this. If the Dodgers win Game 6 and we have a Game 7 Saturday night, I'll get on here Saturday, quickly recap, obviously, Game 6, and then I'll just talk about Game 7 and I'll just kind of preview it and we'll just get on here and talk about it, nerves and all that stuff, and just the beautifulness of baseball and Game 7. We'll see if that happens. We got to get through Game 6 first. The last thing I will leave you guys with is that this is baseball. Anything could happen, and there have been a lot crazier things in baseball history than a team winning Game 6 and 7 to win a World Series. There have been a lot crazier things. And this team is a really good team, and they've shown a lot of resilience in this postseason. They have showed a lot in coming back in games and all that stuff. And the only thing I would say is, I know a lot of Dodger fans are not confident right now, but don't be surprised if we're watching Game 7 of the World Series Saturday night, which would be November 1st. And when you get there, anything could happen, man. So, good luck to everyone out there. It's going to be very nervous times. As always, You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick, and on Reddit at competitive-week8715. I appreciate you guys listening. I know today was just a yap session. There was no numbers, no anything, no logic. We're just yapping. We're just be honest. It's been a tough few days, but at the end of the day, man, the Dodgers got to just grind it out, get Game 6. They just got to win Game 6. That's it. You got to figure out a way to win Game 6, and we'll see what happens in Game 7. So Yamamoto's going to give them a chance. It's all on the offense. So good luck to everyone watching. Good luck to the Dodgers. Go Dodgers. I think they're going to push it to Game 7, but we'll see what happens, man. Thank you guys so much for listening.